There's this massive wave of technology trashing over the business world right now, and it's completely reshaping how companies work. This is especially true in the world of finance. So today, we're going to break down exactly how this transformation is happening, right from the ground up. So, have you ever looked at, say, your banking app or some huge corporate system and just thought to yourself, how in the world did they build that? And what's the real difference between a simple program and one that actually seems, well, smart? That's the core question we're going to tackle. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by laying the digital foundation. Then we'll look at how businesses automate their work, add a layer of actual intelligence on top, build a whole new kind of digital trust, and finally wrap it all up with what this means for the future of finance. First things first, right? Before you can even think about all the fancy, futuristic stuff, you have to build a solid, reliable foundation. It's just like building a house. You don't start with the roof. You start with the blueprints and a whole lot of concrete. And that blueprint in the software world is often a method called the Systems Development Lifecycle, or SDLC for short. Just think of it as the master plan for building a huge, really complex piece of software. It's this formal, step-by-step process that makes sure nothing gets missed along the way. Now, take a look at this. You'll notice the SDLC isn't a straight line, it's a circle, and that's absolutely crucial. Why? Because you don't just build a system and walk away. Technology is never, ever really done. It's a continuous loop of building, launching, and then maintaining and improving it over time. So this whole journey kicks off with an idea. That's phase one. Then you get to maybe the most important step, figuring out exactly what this thing needs to do. This means asking tons of questions, like what buttons does it need, or what reports does the CFO need to see? Then you design it, you build it, and you test it like crazy. Finally, you roll it out, and then of course, you have to keep it running smoothly. Each step just flows right into the next. Okay, so you've built and tested your new system. Now, how do you actually start using it? This is a huge decision. Do you just flip a switch overnight? That's called a direct cutover. It's kind of like selling your horse and buying a car on the same day. If that car doesn't start, well, you're stranded. It's the cheapest way, but man, is it risky. On the other end of the spectrum, you could run the old and new systems side by side for a while. That's parallel operation. Imagine paying for car insurance and horse feed for a few months. It's way safer, but it's also by far the most expensive option. Every strategy here has a serious trade-off. All right, let's move on to the next stage in this evolution. Once you have a solid system in place, the very next question is, how can we make it do more of the heavy lifting for us? How do we automate the work itself? Now, we're not talking about making small tweaks here and there. Business process reengineering is about taking a radical, hard look at how work gets done and asking, you know what? If we were starting from scratch today with a blank sheet of paper, how would we design this to be as efficient as possible? It often means completely ignoring old job titles and who reports to whom. And a key tool to do this is something called robotic process automation, or RPA. Now, don't picture physical robots on an assembly line. These are software bots. Think of them as a digital workforce designed to take over all the boring, repetitive manual stuff, like copying data from a spreadsheet into another system. And the benefits here are just huge. An RPA bot doesn't need a lunch break, it never gets tired, and it doesn't make typos at 3 in the morning. It just works 24/7 with perfect accuracy. So after that initial setup cost, it becomes an incredibly efficient member of the team. Okay, so we've built a solid system, and we've automated the repetitive work. Now for the really cool part. What if the system could do more than just follow a list of instructions? What if it could actually start to learn, to reason, and even make its own decisions? And this is where we see a massive difference. Traditional software, it's all about simple if-then logic. If a number is bigger than 100, do this. If not, do that. But artificial intelligence, AI, is designed to replicate the messy, complex, and nuanced way that we humans think, using experience, context, and even a bit of intuition to solve problems that don't have a simple yes or no answer. So it's really important to get that AI isn't just one single thing. It's a whole family of different technologies. For example, you have neural networks that try to copy the structure of the human brain. And then you have something called case-based reasoning, which is basically a computer saying, I've seen a problem like this before, and here's how I handled it last time. And in the world of finance, this is an absolute game changer. An AI can automatically sort invoices, sure, but it can also learn to spot really weird-looking transactions that might be a mistake or even fraud. Think about it. A human auditor might only have time to check a small sample of transactions. An AI can check 100% of them, instantly. So let's move on, because all this automation and intelligence is leading to a really fundamental shift in how we think about our data, about security, and maybe most importantly, about trust itself. We're building a whole new infrastructure. A huge piece of this puzzle is cloud computing, and the main idea here is pretty simple. A company doesn't have to own these massive, expensive server rooms anymore. They can just rent computing power, storage, and software over the internet, and they only have to pay for what they actually use. It's like switching from owning a car to using a ride-sharing service. But the most revolutionary technology in this space is probably blockchain. Okay, imagine a digital notebook that's shared among a whole group of people. Anytime someone adds a new entry, it's visible to everybody, and, this is the key, no one can secretly go back and erase or change what was written before. That, in a nutshell, is blockchain. It's a shared record book with no single person in charge. And the contrast with the old way of doing things is just stark. A traditional company ledger is private, it's centralized, someone with the right password could go in and secretly change a record. But with a blockchain, every single transaction is a permanent block that gets added to a public chain. Any change is there forever, and it's visible to everyone on the network. The whole system is literally built on transparency. Honestly, the best and simplest way to really get your head around blockchain is to just think of it like a shared Google Doc, right? Just like with that Google Doc, everyone who has permission can see the blockchain at the same time. Everybody always sees the most up-to-date version. And crucially, you can look at the entire history and see who changed what and when they did it. There's no secret master copy hiding on someone's computer. The truth is whatever the whole network agrees it is. So we've gone on this incredible journey, right? We started with building systems methodically. Then we automated them. We made them intelligent. And finally, we made them self-verifying using things like blockchain. And what does it all come back to? I think this quote just says it perfectly. Technology for the sake of technology is just an expensive toy. Its real power, its true value, comes from how we use all this data to make smarter decisions and get better results for the business. Which leaves us with one last, pretty fascinating question to think about. In a world where our systems can handle the repetitive work, where they can learn from data, and where they can maintain their own trusted record of the truth, what does that mean for us? What becomes the new, essential human role in the future of business?